guys, JoeBiz34 back again with another review, and this one I'm kind of going all batty. This is Batamanina right here. I'm going to be reviewing several aspects of the latest Hot Toys releases, some of which are more newer than others. I'm a little behind with some of it, and there's a lot of reviews of this stuff already out there, but if somebody's looking for a different take, you know, they can still, you can still watch my vid. Or if you just like the way, you know, my style of reviewing versus others, you can still check this out. Or if you're still on the fence, because I did pick some of this up late. You know, Sideshow has their deals, so had an opportunity to pick up this DX19, which is basically a Dark Knight 2.0 or 3.0, depending on how many they've done at this point. I mean, this one's kind of like a merge. This is the DX19. It's the Dark Knight, but, you know, it's Christian Bale's Batman, but they call this one the Trilogy, so I guess it kind of could represent, you know, all three films, or technically with this outfit, 2 and 3, right? Like the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises, because he had this type of outfit in those two movies. But there's definite improvements, and there's some nitpicks that are still there, which I'll go over real quick. And then I also want to review, I mean, you can see this gigantic box right here that the Tumbler came in, and that was cool to unpack, but a little frustrating, and I'll get into that as far as the nuisance. But right away when you open the box, I mean, you get this picture art here for the Batman figure, the DX19 figure, and then it comes with this in the insert, which I kind of had to think about what this was at first, but it comes with this, which pops out with a key ring. So I guess it could be like basically a keychain or something to that effect. But, you know, they give you that on the front of the box with some nice artwork. It's pretty cool. Poster quality. And then, of course, you know, on the second layer, they give you, you know, the instructions that go over everything. I mean, the typical stuff, I'll go over that. And this is where it kind of gets a little weird, in the sense that this is kind of a hybrid or a morph between the two previous Batmans, which was the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises, because the Dark Knight Rises came with this type of stand, this exact same stand that I have with my other figure. Typical batteries, you know, the crotch grabber for the stand here to put them on, the little tool that you use to, you know, move his purrs for his the eyeball system, batteries, extra pegs like usual, and I'll show you what the battery is for. So when we come back over here, this is where I have the figure. There he is, and I'll cover him first, and then we'll move on to this bad boy. There's the Dark Knight Trilogy, I guess, DX19 Dark Knight Trilogy, if you want to be technical. But again, where it kind of morphs into the two figures together, and I had the original Dark Knight release that came with the extra backpack, and you can make that scene that this doesn't come with. And I also have the Dark Knight Returns one. If I had to compare, I would say this is more Dark Knight Returns, not Dark Knight Returns, I'm sorry, Dark Knight Rises. Okay, this is more of the Dark Knight Rises stuff that this mainly comes with, mixed in with some of the Dark Knight. Like this, for example, this weapon came with the Dark Knight, and that's what some of those cell batteries are for, to light this up and stuff. And of course you have this weapon too, which also came with the Dark Knight originally, but you know, it's kind of weird that they give you this but not the backpack, you know, without the cape look. So typically, as well as before in the past, they give you the alternate facial expressions, the face plates that you can swap out and give them a different, you know, but I kind of prefer the stoic kind of non-expression version that comes with the head. And of course, they give you, like before with the Dark Knight, they give you the solar power, the solar panel, or sonar. Sorry, the sonar eyes, and some of those batteries are for this too as well that you have to get in there. And from what I've seen from other reviews, this lights up a little differently, or maybe a little better than originally. And then, of course, the non-masked Bruce Wayne head sculpt, which again, maybe a little improvement, but more of the same. You know, it looks pretty good. And, you know, for those kit bashes out there, I guess you can also use this for American Psycho, technically. Although there's enough of that figure to go around as well, too, that you don't really have to do that. And then, of course, there's the additional weapons. All this little cool stuff. And again, these are all stuff, the battering, these are all things that, you know, came with the figure before, you know, in other versions. So typical weapons that come with here, and then you got the extra hands and stuff. Once again, this gun, this is probably his most popular weapon of the bunch that he's used. So, you know, no real surprises here if you had any of the previous versions. I mean, this stuff is kind of to be expected. Now, as far as the figure itself, I will say that it's definitely improved in a few areas. Now, the Dark Knight never had an issue with the eyes, you know, as far as the darkness, the color. If you remember The Dark Knight Rises, everybody had problems and nitpicks about the makeup around the eyes not being dark enough. It was like kind of like flesh with dark mixed in, which looked like it was incomplete. And a lot of people had a problem with that and wanted to do makeup or do their own paintwork touch up to kind of make it dark. I even did that myself on my Dark Knight Rises. But on the original Dark Knight release, the eyes were like that. It wasn't an issue. It's still a magnetic system like before. The neck, same idea as last time. The one thing I don't like is that I struggled with is the purse system. And I don't know if it was like this last time. Now, I don't remember if you took off the back. I think you did originally, but this time it's on the inside right there. And I get what they're doing. I guess it's less disruptive, but, and it may be off here, I have to check. But the problem with this is that, you know, when would you be in a situation where you need to move each eye independently? I mean, unless you want to jokingly make them cockeyed or cross-eyed, why would you want two different eyeball movements where you can risk them not lining up or looking right? Which, if you look closely on mine, that might be an issue. I mean, I worked on it the other night to get it as close as possible to even, but it looks like it could still be off. And the thing is, like, even using the tool, you have to be like, you know, really, you have to really make sure that they match up. And it's just, I don't know, it's just weird to me because I really don't understand the concept. I don't understand the logic. Why wouldn't you just use one lever that controls both eyes at the same time so they are definitely lined up and in sync? You see here, there is, and you can see there is a subtle difference there. So I have a problem with that, even though I think the head sculpt is nice, and I do think the shape of the mask and everything is better and more proportioned. But this separate eyeball thing movement is annoying the crap out of me. I don't like it, and I don't think it's necessary. I think it's kind of weird because, like I said, unless you want to make him cross-eyed or something weird, there's no reason for it. There's no reason to have the eyes move separately, because that kind of problem can happen where you can accidentally make him look off, you know, or that he's not, neither, you know, both eyes aren't exactly in sync. So I don't get that. So that bothers me. Although, like I said, there is an improvement on the head and the mask, the shape of the mask. They definitely did an improvement there. That was always a big mistake. And there was a lot of custom heads out there that kind of corrected that mistake. And it looks like they did take a note on that and a lesson on that. Now, as far as the cape is pretty much the same idea. You kind of pop them in the grooves there. This one is nice. I don't, you know, usually the capes that come with these Batman bug me, and it bugs a lot of people where they get a custom one. This one is an improvement. It's still a little too long, so a custom cape might still be in order here, and I'm sure there will be plenty that will still do that. But I do think overall, the cape does seem to drape better, and it does seem less thick than ones in the past. I do like the cape a lot better. I can live with this cape. I can live with the one that came with it, as opposed to the ones in the past where, you know, you reach out to Tony Maya or somebody to get a custom one. But even still, it is longer than it probably should be. It kind of has a cool look from the back. I mean, like I said, it drapes a little more naturally. It is better to me. I do like this cape. And this doesn't make me want to run out and get a custom one automatically, whereas the other ones in the past did. And I do think they improved the proportions of the body. You know, especially the chest area, the waist area, everything looks a little more filled out. The material and everything feels rubbery but sturdy. And I don't know if you guys, you know, for older collectors like me that's been around a hot minute, if you remember the original DX or the Dark Knight release from a while back, there was oily, leaky problems with the chest that a lot of people experienced. I luckily never experienced that. And then they fixed it later on, and I would imagine that's still the case here. I don't think that's going to be a problem anymore, but that was an infamous thing that happened with the original one where it just kept, you know, for some reason there was this oil or leakiness that started to occur with the chest in the abdominal area that affected a lot of people's figures. So I don't think that's going to happen here. You know, they've kind of learned their lesson from that. You know, everything else is the same. And the other thing that, you know, overall, when I took this figure out of the box, I instantly could see a proportion difference. I definitely see a stature difference. It has shelf presence, and he's more ready to go. I do like this figure better. This is a better figure than the first Dark Knight, or even the Dark Knight Trilogy, the Dark Knight Rises for that matter. So this is definitely a definitive version of this for now, as far as it is the better version to get. I know some people have talked about the Hall of Armor or the Armory version being improved too, so you know that might be another one. But I think this one is better overall. So if you don't have any of them, this is definitely a must-have. If you don't have any Batman like this, but if you have the others, is it absolutely necessary to get this one? I don't know. This might be redundant for people unless you want an extra one to pose differently or pose with the you know, the Bat Tumbler or the Batmobile. You know, so you have one with the Batmobile, one on its own, you know, whatever. You know, so you may want more than one, like kind of I did. But I think overall, you know, if you don't have any of the previous ones, then this is a must-have. And then if you do have some of the previous ones, you know, take it or leave it. I don't think it's a must-have in that scenario, but it definitely is an improvement. So if you're a stickler for improvement, it's definitely better. The other area they still didn't improve, that I noticed other reviewers talk about as well, and they're right, is that they still didn't learn their lesson with the glove. Again, it's a nitpick. Do I really care ultimately? Does it really affect the figure? No. It's a minor nitpick. It's a minor detail, but the glove, you know, the tip of the rim or the edge is supposed to go tucked under the gauntlet. This gauntlet is supposed to be over the glove. It overlaps the glove. It doesn't meet, or it doesn't become even with the glove. And that was always an issue that these figures had even before. However, I kind of see that it works a little better with this version, because I feel like with this version, they did a better job of matching it up where it does look sort of seamless, right? So it kind of blends in better, where when you look at it from far away, it does look cohesive and like it's one piece, and you don't see like, I can't explain what I mean, but it does fit better where it doesn't look as obvious. But at the same time, the sticklers out there, the nitpickers, including me, and the people that are very into screen accuracy, you know, might still do some custom work here to adjust this glove so that this piece here kind of fits over it and overlaps it. And that's really would be more film. But again, very small detail overall, and it's not something I would lose sleep over, especially with this one, because I feel like overall the proportions are better and the suit and everything just works a little smoother, that you don't feel that need to kind of really customize it in areas as much as the older ones. At least that's in my opinion. Other people may beg to differ, and you know what? Comment below. You know, don't forget to subscribe to me, number one, and number two, comment below and tell me what you think. First off, do you feel this figure is a must-have if you have some of the other ones, or is it more of a want because of being, you know, a completionist? And do you feel that, you know, these little errors like the glove with the meeting the gauntlet piece is still a big issue for you? You know, I'm just curious what you guys think. You know, tell me, you know, leave a comment and let me know. Because I can go either way with this one. I can go the extra step and mod it like I've done in ones in the past, or leave it be. What do you think? Is it worth the mod or not? So anyway, let's move on. Let's get to the Tumbler here. So the Tumbler is the main point I'm doing the review. All right. Let me reset the lighting and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the Bat Tumbler 2.0. It's the second time they've released it. So this is the newer version. And again, I'm late to the party because I wasn't really originally planning on buying this. I never got the original one. Although what I did have originally was the first Bat Pod, you know, the motorcycle one. And I did end up selling that along with Catwoman back when. Long story of why. I had my reasons, but I would say that if you want a vehicle that represents the Christopher Nolan or Christian Bale Batmans, the Bat Pod would be the best one if you have lack of space. You know, it wasn't as intrusive. I mean, this thing is a monster, and it's shorter, you know, than other vehicles, right? So it's not as long, but it's fat and it's wide and it's tall. and it's got a lot of mass, especially in the back here with these back tires, which, by the way, is always what made me love the Tumbler. The Tumbler has always been one of my favorites overall, even though it's not at all a traditional looking Batmobile. Matter of fact, I feel like it should have been a Bat Tank, you know, or he could call it the Tumbler and had a different car in the movie that would have been more like the Batmobile. That could easily work too. But, you know, for this film series, it worked for what it was. And we all know that this was supposed to be like sort of like a military vehicle that was like a demo or like a test pilot version that he was you know, going to use to sell to the military, right? And it was camouflage, and then he ended up, you know, obviously, you know, does it come in black? So this was kind of like the demo that he ended up using into, you know, turning into his version of what you would call a Batmobile, but it technically is a Tumbler. And, you know, as far as the difference between the first one and the second one, I can't really say. I didn't own the first one. I knew somebody once that had one, so I did see one in person. It looked great, but I didn't really get up too close and personal with it to really know the details of it. I have heard that there have been slight paint app improvements and certain detail improvements with this one. I'm not going to really speak to it. I'm only going to judge this one for itself because I don't really know. And, you know, there are certain Batmobiles I want in my collection. You know, I want the 66 Batmobile, which I did get from Jazz Design Inc. I have the 89 pre-ordered on him. I would have definitely have gotten the Hot Toys 89 Batmobile, especially since they re-released it. But I knew at that point that Jazz was doing one, and I wanted one from him. Even though it's more money, I know I'm going to get better details for him. Same thing with the Batman Forever Batmobile that I'm getting. That I'm getting purely because I think it's going to be a very good display and shelf presence with the illumination of the LED lights, more so than my love for the Batmobile itself. It's probably my least favorite of the ones I have or gonna have, but you know, with Jazz doing it and, you know, juiced and seeing how it's going to look with the light up effects, that was a very cool looking one for the light up effects. And I think as a display, as a 1.6 vehicle, that's going to look really nice. So I got that kind of more for show for that aspect than for the love of the design. But when it comes to the designs, the 66 for nostalgic reasons, and I always loved that car when I was little, and the 89 are my favorites. I do like the Ben Affleck one, but I didn't really get too much into the Batfleck, I guess they called it, because there was always that tease that he was no longer going to be there. Then he comes back, then the DCU is a mess, and then they're going to reboot it, and WB doesn't know what they're going to do. So I kind of like went back and forth with, like, you know, collecting those versions of Batman. Never had a solo film. I did like the Batmobile. I felt like that Batmobile was a merge of this one and the 89 together. It's like the Tumbler and the 89 Batmobile had a kid and outspits the Justice League one or Batman versus Superman one, whichever. So I'm kind of happy to see he's going to be back in the Flash movie, which is kind of another reason why I'm doing this. I got Batman on my mind because I'm very hyped about the Keaton one coming back. You know, Michael Keaton coming back in the Flash movie. And I got something I'm going to show about that too in a few minutes that I'll get into. So that's kind of what motivated me to kind of go all out with this Batman review and kind of show a few things at once since I'm very behind with reviewing certain things. And I don't often have the time or the energy to review all the Hot Toys or commercial figures I get, you know, versus doing like custom ones. So we can consider this like kind of like the way I do my Halloween edition versions for like every year for horror. This is my special edition for Batman stuff, and to honor the return of Keaton in the Flash movie, so I'm very excited. But anyway, getting back to reviewing this thing. So again, I have heard there's some improvements, and I've heard that some of this still falls short. I'm sure Jazz is going to do this one too. And I wasn't going to get even this one, but with the price, it was on sale. Like I said, Sideshow does its deals. I got him at a discount for a special deal they were offering, and I got this for almost $200 less than what it normally goes for. And a friend of mine kind of put me wise to the sale, and I couldn't resist, so I got it. And I said, you know what? I do like this Tumbler. I like what I saw. It's really simplistic, even though it's a monster, but it is simplistic and detailed at the same time if you really look further in. Like when you look at the pistons or the details or the things that are going on, kind of more in places where you don't see than you do. I mean, look at these little details here, you know, and the paintwork with the copper and the silver. And the tires I love because it's like new, but yet at the same time, there's that slight, and maybe you can't pick it up on video, but there is that slight wear and tear or like dirt or dust molecules on the tire, like it's been slightly used. But it's not obvious because this is not meant to be a worn or battle damaged version. It's meant to be clean and kind of pristine before it gets damaged. So it shouldn't have any mud or dirt. Now you can see red in the tires here, and that's because the stoppers are in there, so the vehicle can't roll off the table or move. So, you know, if you want the freedom of the tires to move, you just have to pull those out. But I'm keeping them in, and I think I will do that until I figure out eventually where this ultimately the home of this is going to be. But again, look at the details on the front there. See the little pieces in the front and underneath. Well, this right here, actually this right here is residue from the foam that was protecting it in the box. So I got a little dust buster and cleaned it up, but there's still some of that around there. But like I said, there's a lot of details here. Look underneath there, you can see the details there with the mechanics of things there and there. So again, if you look deeper, these little windshield wipers, which are cool, you can move them and adjust them, move them up or down. Look at that, I'm getting the residue on the window now. Let me get that off there. There we go. So, you know, that's cool, but you got to be careful because these things do pop off, but they're very easy to pop back on. But you don't want to mess with them too much or break them. But if you want it looking like it's being used, you pick them up, and then if you just want them to kind of be out of the way, you just put them down like that. This, like before, does open. This is in the close mode right now, but you can open this. And by doing that, you simply pop it up like that, you know, and then you kind of slide that in. You have to like slide this. You have to do it in a certain order. You have to slide this in first. And it took me a little bit to figure that out because, like I said, I didn't own the first one. I heard it's the same thing. And then you can kind of like pop it open. I don't have it all the way open, but you can open it and kind of see inside. I put the handles there for the seats. It's a little dark in there right now, but you could see that. You could see that there's some details in there. All right, so I paused it a bit so I can get it kind of in the open position, so it's a little easier to maneuver. And then I'm going to put a flashlight in there so you can really see. So there you go. So you can kind of really see the detail in there now with the seats and the trimming down on the bottom there. So like with the lack of detail, there's also a lot of detail. And there's ways to, I've seen other reviews, I haven't tried it yet, but there's ways to manipulate this or move this out so that you can kind of prep it to put the figure there, which would be him. But I'm never, ever going to do that, just so you guys know. It's not worth it to me to try to fit him in there. I mean, if I took maybe one of my older ones and just popped him in there, okay, if he stays in there. But there is probably a risk of the suit being damaged or things happening with him sitting in there long term. I don't think it's recommended. But at the same time, you know, you could pose him like standing in there or near it or next to it. Now, you know, I'll probably do that. I took pictures earlier of him on the roof, kind of like the poster of Dark Knight, which I thought is pretty cool. But just for the sake of the review, just so you could see, like I said, there are all the details in there. But again, there's not much to it. I mean, there's a panel on this side. If you switch it around, you can see there's stuff going on there. Like I said, they have it in there. But, you know, the bottom line is that most of the time I'm going to probably, you know, have this thing closed. So I'll set that back down in a minute. And then moving along the sides, again, you can see a lot of details on the sides of it with the copper and the silver bars and the pistons and stuff. This here you had to attach. The thing on the side here, these little copper pieces here, right? Everything's there. And the back area is really nice too. The thruster right here is really cool looking and has a lot of detail. You know, these pieces here, these are magnetized that you have to install when you open it up. There's little pieces and you had to add all these in, which were not easy. Definitely read the manual or watch a video of how to set these up. You know, you have to be patient and do it one at a time. You put this one first, you put this one behind it, and then this one, you have to kind of line them up in this back bar here, this side and this side, while also having the piece, the leg piece, go into like these round anchors right on each back there that is posable. So once you have them in, you can bend them up, you can lift them up like that, see? So there is posability there, mostly with the back one. There's a little bit with these too, but not as much as these. So just be careful when you manipulate these. But if you want to have it like kind of pointing up, kind of make it a little more dramatic, you can. So really nice there. Now, over here is the battery compartment. 3 AAAs, that's all you need, which is nice. So they're regular batteries, so no fuss there. And the on switch for the lights are right there, which turn the lights on. Okay. Really nice and bright. Okay, there's ones back there that are being a little covered now because I have the top open. So let me put this thing back together where it's closed, and then you can see it in all its glory. Okay, so there you go. So the canopy part is closed again. So as you can see, there's the lights, and then you can see the lights behind the opening part behind it there. And I'm going to turn the lights off for a minute so you can kind of get a good look at what it looks like. Look how bright it is in the dark. I mean, there's like lens flare all over the place here. So very nice and bright. You know, and again, you know, from what I heard, these lights have a white, but they have like a hint of blue tint to it. And I heard these are a little better than the first one. I don't know, again, this is what I heard. I don't know for sure how it compares. But the one thing that people were mad about is that or not mad, but I guess nitpicking a bit or saying like they missed an opportunity. Look, nothing back here, nothing. Now I know when Juiced or Jazz Design Inc. does his, I'll guarantee you there's going to be a light here for the fire coming out of the thruster. Guaranteed. And would it hurt Hot Toys to put one there? Just to have something going on in the back? You know, that's a missed opportunity, and I think some were hoping that that was rectified from first version to this version. So again, not a showstopper, not a reason to say don't buy it, but it would have been nice to go the extra mile. The one thing I will say about this thing overall, okay, is that it gets the job done. It's beautiful. I love the wear and tear. I love the feel of the tires. Another reviewer did mention that the tires feel a little better on this one, and they do feel sort of like real because there does seem to be a little space between the rim and the tire, simulating like there would be air in it. It does have a realistic feel, and like I said, there is subtle wear and tear on it to give it that detail with the grooves and the creases, but at the same time, it doesn't look dirty, okay? So it doesn't look like it's been through the mill yet or been really used through mud or water or battle damage or anything. But it has a nice touch of, you know, that simplistic, very light wear and tear on it as if it was driven, you know, on a road a little bit, you know. So it's very nice. But really, it's showroom quality. There's no damage on it or nothing on it as far as, you know, scuffs and scratches or anything in the paint. It's meant to be clean and new, basically. Really cool. So, like I said, it gets the job done. I'm happy with it, especially for the price. Because this is not my top Batmobile choice, I was okay paying less to get this one that does the job, as opposed to maybe paying more for like Jazz when he does one. But I would figure that he's gonna do one, and I would think that his is gonna be a little better. This feels cool and solid, but definitely still feels a little plasticky and flimsy in parts. Like I said, you gotta be careful when you, like this thing here, when you open and close this thing, it feels delicate. It feels plasticky, like almost like a Hasbro toy. And it feels like if you kind of move it too fast or you jerk it or, you know, whatever, you might break it. So there's definitely some pieces on here that can pop off. You know, this piece right here was off and was in the box. I had to put this back on. And there was other little minor things that I touched up and fixed really quick. So again, it's a little delicate. So it does the job, like I said, but I'd be careful, you know. But again, you can have a lot of fun with it. And, you know, this is one of those, you know, the 66 and the 89 I'm getting from Jazz, and I'm going for it because I know that's going to be probably the best 1/6 versions of them you're going to see, at least in the near future. So I'm going there with those, you know, no problem. And I feel like that's worth it. But for like other ones, like you know, this one, and, you know, the reason why I also got the Forever one is because, like I said, I like the lights, and I don't think Hot Toys is going to ever do that one. At least I don't think. I mean, they did come out with the Batman and Robin, which I am going to show in this video. So it's possible they're going to do a Batman Forever Batmobile, but I don't think the demand is quite there for that. And I don't think they could do it as well as somebody like Jazz is going to really pay attention to details on that one with the lighting and the look and the size of it. I've already seen what he's posted, and it looks really good. And I'm very excited to get that one. But again, I think that's the only reason why, again, I got that one. That's more for just like the shelf presence than anything. But for this and what it is and how it looks, I think Hot Toys gets the job done at a much probably cheaper price as what Jazz Inc. would charge. And this is not as important to me to have everything exactly in high detail. I think this one works and is good enough. And with the figure along with it, you know, you can't lose. Like I said, I did this the other night and I took some pictures, which was really cool, of him like standing on top of it to kind of simulate the poster. And I was messing around with his head, you know, kind of making him look down like that and kind of doing that. And it really looked cool, and it works, you know. So I would recommend, you know, if you're a completionist and you want the main vehicles, but you don't want to, you know, spend an arm and a leg for each one, pick and choose which is your favorites, and maybe go the extra mile with, like, say, Jazz Design Inc. And then with the other ones, you know, go Hot Toys. You know, their 89 Batmobile they're doing again looks great too. And if Jazz wasn't doing one, I probably would have went for it. You know, but because he is doing that one, and that is my top fave, I'm going for that one for Jazz. You know, but for something like this, I think the Hot Toys does the job. I really do, and I think you'd be very happy with this one regardless. You know, maybe minor little complaints here and there. But, and again, I don't blame you. If this is your favorite, then if Jazz announces he's doing this one, which I'll guarantee, he did the Justice League one too. He did the Bad Affleck one. And that looked great. And I didn't get that one, again, because I stay away from that version altogether. It's just not priority to me. But I think he did do a phenomenal job with what I saw. He did the 89 Batwing that looks phenomenal, but way too big for my taste. I can't fit something that big. But I did get something that I will show you guys in a second that I think will fill that void for me a little bit. I'll be right back. All right, guys, so check this thing out. Now, before you go nuts, this is not the McFarlane version. So this one's a little smaller, okay? Not as detailed, at least not at first. But if you notice, this is the SpinMaster one, the cheap one that you can get for like 40 to 50 bucks at a Target or what have you, right? And I think it was even a Target exclusive, which, by the way, this version in the toy stores came with a ridiculously out-of-scale figure of Batman, supposedly being the Michael Keaton version, which on its own for just a simple figure is cool. Matter of fact, he doesn't look bad standing on top of the Tumbler either, does he? Oh yeah, I'm the real Batman. But he's not 1/6 scale, but he's not a scale that should fit with this. I mean, when you put this next to him, when you put him next to this, it looks ridiculous. He looks like a giant next to this thing. This is made in scale with what should be like a 7-inch or 8-inch figure, I would imagine, a NECA-sized or Hasbro or whatever, So this originally did fit in here, I guess, as a toy when it was in its original form, which is still absurd, but I guess it was meant more for kids, right? But there's people out there that customize this thing, and I could have definitely done the paint work. You could see the flat matte black, weathering, some silver and stuff to create scuffs and wear and tear, and I definitely would have had fun doing this, but this guy went one step further, and he added the cannons on the side here. Okay, and then when you open this thing, which used to be to put the figure in, and it had nothing in there, no details whatsoever, this guy went ahead and he added a chair. He added a handle, like a steering handle. Let me see if I can get this thing to stay open so you guys can see. Hold on. Let me pause it and swing around the other side so you can see. So here it is from the other side. You can see he added the chair. He added the console, the pilot console there. Look at that. With some detail, the handlebars, and an on-off switch because he actually added LEDs. So you just simply turn this on, and look at that. Check that out. Look at the cannons on the side. All right, so I'm going to close this now. You can still see the light in there, which is cool. And look at the back lights. Okay, there's the black lights. I mean the back lights, sorry, the red lights in the back. Okay. Let's go around the front here. And he's got the 2 lights in the front. So check that out. Now let's turn the lights out again. Check that out. How cool is that? Okay, so he took basically $40, a $40 kid's toy, and turned it into a collectible for an adult collector, something special. And, you could spend more money on the McFarlane one, which is probably more detailed than this and bigger. I've seen some people do comparisons where the wingspan is bigger on that one. But if you want to save a little money and get creative, whether you want to do it yourself or pay somebody to do it, this is definitely a way to go. Let me turn off this light too so you can kind of see it more in dark. Look at that. Really cool. And again, I'll show you the back. You know what? Maybe we'll have let's have the Tumbler in on the fun here too. Let me see in the dark if I can find the on-off switch for it. Here we go. All right, so that's going to, I'll show you the front of that in a minute. But there's the back. Lit up like a Christmas tree in the dark. All right. So how about that? Look at all that holy lights, Batman. Like I said, look how bright it is, but look how cool that is. So again, a cheaper alternative, fun. So the guy that did this for me, he has a store on Etsy. He goes by the name Anthony Valentine. He's right here in Jersey. He's not far from me, so we were able to kind of ship it back and forth to each other pretty fast. And the name of his Etsy store, just to give him a shout out, is the Av Customs. So and then AVE in capitals and then customs. So look him up on Etsy if you have one of these and would be interested. But, I didn't realize the work he really put into it until I saw a review of it out of the box, because I bought this brand new, didn't even open the thing and sent it to him. So when he sent it back, I didn't realize that certain things, like right here, like the cannons on the side and stuff, didn't exist. I thought that was all there. And the chair and stuff in there, I thought he just added the light. I didn't realize that he added everything else in here. So he did all this work with the chair and everything. Adding that chair, adding all this detail, the panel, the light up that's happening there. He added all that in there. It used to be just a blank space, just big enough to put this completely ridiculous, overscaled Batman in there. But he turned it. Now you can easily put like a NECA or like a 7-inch Batman in there, and it'll fit nicely. And I saw somebody else do a review where they did just that. Where they did something similar to this, except without the lights. And it really works out well now. So I do have a NECA 89 Batman on the way that I'm going to put with this thing. Even though this is technically not the 89 Batwing, okay? It has wheels, by the way, and stands, so you can have it parked on the road, or you could fold those up and make it fly, or pose it, like some people do with the other Batwing, or the one they're getting from, what's his name? Jazz Design Inc. You can hang it up on the wall and have it, shine with the lights on the wall, which is pretty cool. It would definitely still be a showstopper in the dark, right, with the lights out. So this is the new Flash movie Batwing version, where Michael Keaton makes his dramatic return in some sort of, I guess, alternate universe Batman that we'll find out all the details when the movie comes out. And again, I'm honoring that return with this review. The original 89 Batman is almost at its 35-year anniversary mark. I think it'll be 35 years this summer, or this June in 2024. I believe it'll be something about that. So it's what I grew up with. When I was a teenager, that was the first Batman that I saw and loved. Other than the 66 series that we all loved as kids, but didn't really take it seriously. So I'm very hyped for this one. Glad to see Keaton back, as an older Batman, or an alternate universe Batman that kind of then makes everything kind of make sense. Kind of like what Marvel's doing with their multiverse. It's kind of like the new thing now to say, hey, you know what? Everything counts, because everything is an alternate universe. So why not? So again, if you are interested in having a Batwing, but you don't want to get the McFarlane one, maybe because it's a little too big or because it's too expensive, but you want to get one, the cheaper version that you can then work it over or send it to like a guy like Anthony Valentine to do. He only charged, I think it was $75. So between $75 plus the 40 or 45 you originally spend, you're talking a little over $100, 100 and something, maybe under 150. You got yourself a nice standout collectible, which is really cool. Or like I said, if you have the know-how to do it yourself, make it a project. I could have done everything he did other than the lights. That's the only thing I don't really do too well is light effects. So I would have needed somebody's help there. But even if you just did the repaint stuff, which I could have done, that alone makes it better. And I've seen somebody else on YouTube do just that. He didn't add the cannons and stuff with the lights, but he did do the paint work over, added the seats in there, and he had some Batman figures in there that looked nice. So again, just another alternative and a shout out. And again, it comes with this really out of scale Keaton Batman. Like I said, for a cheap figure in its own right for a kid or whatever, it's fine. It does the job. You can put it on your office desk or display it somewhere where you don't really care, because it's not a high-end collectible at all. But, it's kind of cool. It's the first Keaton toy I've owned since he's been Batman originally back in the 80s and the early 90s. And, I don't know, maybe I can fudge it and put him in the maybe I can make him sit in the Tumbler. And that could be like him driving the Tumbler. He'd probably fit in there a lot easier than getting the 1/6 figure in there, and less worry about damaging him, because this is like a plastic figure right here. So anyway, that's my vehicles, and I'll be back to show you the last couple figures that I wanted to show you that go along with this Batamanina Joe Biz 34 1/6 review here. Although this is not 1/6, but it's in there anyway because it's part of the Batman universe, or the Flash with the Batman, whatever. Be right back. All right, Bat fans, I am back, and here's the final thing I wanted to show in this video. Check this out. Val Kilmer, Chris O'Donnell, the infamous 1995 sequel, or loosely a sequel to not the Dark Knight, but the Batman and Batman Returns, the Burton Keaton Batman movies, Batman Forever, Joel Schumacher's Batman Forever. And they actually made these. And I had to get these just for the look of it. It was something out of left field that I think nobody expected Hot Toys to do. And, you know, I have the third-party Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face and Jim Carrey Riddler that came out. God, I can't remember the name of the company, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I know there's a new one coming out of the Riddler again, but these are the ones that came out years ago, and they were pretty good for the most part. And I still have them. They hold up. Pose them in wacky different ways, and they'll fit right in with these guys. Plus, once I have my Batman Forever Jazz Inc. Batmobile, they'll all go, you know, greatly, you know, they'll fit in greatly with that, smoothly and perfectly, I should say. They'll fit in perfectly with that. So, you know, this is the Val Kilmer. Definitely looks like Val Kilmer when you get in close. And this is more of his bat suit at the end, the sonar suit, or whatever they call it. It's not the his black and yellow Batman suit that kind of resembled the Keaton ones that he wears throughout the film. I would have technically preferred that one, but they wanted to do something different, I guess, than the typical, you know, the black and yellow one, right? So, you know, they went with the silver one, but Robin, you know, didn't really have an alternative one. So this is basically how Robin looked throughout Batman Forever. He did look a little more Nightwing-ish, if you remember, in Batman and Robin. But in this one, this was more of the traditional. They definitely captured the looks of these, you know, these versions, these outfits. Although the one minor detail they missed, which I think a lot of fans, just for the joke of it, would have appreciated. Although maybe it's because of this armored version, but there's no bat nipples. But I don't think this version did have the bat nipples. I think his normal one does, because Robin clearly has them. So that was one thing that was always joked about in that version. See, there's the bat nipples, clearly evident there. And of course, he's well endowed. And I thought, you know, in the prototype, I was like, they're not going to possibly release the figure looking like that. But they did. So it's kind of funny. And I got to be honest with you guys, I just have a lot of fun with these figures. I normally would not have collected anything from the Schumacher ones, to be honest with you. Maybe Mr. Freeze. You know, Schwarzenegger is always Schwarzenegger. He's always cool and lovable, and, you know, he was over the top in that part. And of course, if they did a nice looking Poison Ivy, I'd be all over that. Maybe even Bane, because Bane in that movie looked far more closer to the comic book, even though the character was completely an abomination in that version. The look of him was more comic booky. He might make a good looking 1/6 figure. But you know, as far as Val Kilmer, he did the best Batman he could for this film. He didn't come back for Batman and Robin. Obviously, that was Clooney. And, you know, honestly, in this helmet here, if you blink and look a certain way, you could say this is Clooney too. I mean, you know, it's not really that evident. But, you know, the stands are really nice on this one. Look at that Batman. I always love that symbol, that Batman with the Riddler question mark going around it with the green hue, that the coloring. That was great. It made a great movie poster. I just wish it was done in the same vein as the Keaton ones and the Burton ones. You know, I just watched the video recently when they talked about these two, this film. You know, if it would have been a Burton Part 3, it still would have been the same thing, and they might have even still went with that, because that could be a Burton logo as well. But it possibly would have had, you know, obviously Billy D. Williams being fully realized as Harvey Dent going into Two-Face, and then they were talking about possibly Robin Williams being the Riddler, which I did hear rumors of that at the time, and that would have been fantastic. But yeah, I don't know. It never happened, and instead we got this. Now, the good about the figures are the outfits are very accurate, and I'm surprised they do have sort of a rubbery feel to it. It's not plastic or you know, anything hard. It's not hard. It's soft. It's an actual outfit that is, you know, rubbery. So they kind of went like the realistic, like these are kind of like, they're not latex, but they kind of feel like a rubber latex type of material. Sort of a form-fitting, you know, like soft shell costume. It actually is that. And when you bend the arms and stuff, you can see that. You can see the crease there. You know, as you bend the outfit, you can see the outfit move, and it is separate from the figure underneath. So this is an actual outfit. It's not molded on or hard plastic or anything like that, you know, like this would be, right? So kudos to that. The problem though is that I'm very concerned with articulation with these because of that. I mean, hopefully Hot Toys has learned their lesson. This doesn't feel like old school Hot Toys here where this outfit may in time tear or deteriorate. It has a weird texture to it that feels very durable, and I think under the right circumstances would last. But if you put them in any sort of major dramatic poses here, it does limit the articulation, and I feel like it adds stress to the costumes where you might have to worry long term of something happening. So, you know, really, it's kind of more museum pose with these guys, you know, with subtle movement or holding weapons that they come with and such. Also, with this Batman, because they went realistic, there is no head articulation. He cannot turn his head here. I tried just to see if there was anything, and no, there's nothing. Just like in the movies, until they figured it out that it would be a cool idea to work it in the story with Christian Bale telling, you know, Morgan Freeman's character, you know, hey, I'd like to turn my neck. Up until that point, they never really dealt with that problem. And they just had a stiff mask and neck that he couldn't really articulate or turn, which in practicality and reality would be silly, right? To not be able to turn your head. I would think that eventually Batman would want to do something about that. So they kind of dealt with that in the Nolan-verse Batmans, but they didn't deal with that here. So because of that, there really is no up and down. There's no posing you could do here. So it kind of, to me, it's a little boring. It's cool. It's cool looking to look at, you know, and you can bend the arms and the legs to a point, but there's very limited articulation at the same time, which kind of makes him look kind of stiff, and you can't really do much with him. Now with Robin, it's a little better. It's similar, but at least with Robin, because he's not wearing a helmet, you know, you can do head articulation. So you can have him looking down, you can have him looking up, you can have him, you know, turn to the side or look straight, you know, or tilt his head. So it's a little more interesting. Like you could, you know, look, he's like looking at him like right now, like someday I'm going to have your job. But, you know, it's a little more interesting. So I like Robin a little better. I think the posability is a little more, even though it's still limited because of his costume, there's at least a little more you can bring out with his expressions with tilting his head or moving his head, that there is nothing happening here. So, you know, it limits the fun a little bit. But at the same time, you know, what are you going to really do? You know, most of these figures, we find that pose and we leave them that way. So I guess it's not, you know, the end of the world. And, you know, as far as being completionist, there's not really many options out there for these versions of Batman, especially Robin. This is the only Robin we got to date so far that was really on a live action movie, right? There was a hint of it in the Ben Affleck verse, you know, where you saw the costume, but you didn't actually see a Robin. And then, you know, any other variant never came out. I mean, there was never a Robin in the Keaton world and so on. So there was on TV and stuff, but not in movies. So, you know, it's really cool to finally have a movie Robin, you know, especially one that's as accurate looking as this. It really does look accurate, you know, especially that's accurate. I remember laughing at that when I saw it on screen. So, you know, they didn't disappoint. I mean, you know, Val Kilmer might have some envy there. I don't know, if you ask me. I'm being bad. I'm turning this video into a rated X right now. But anyway, sorry kids, if any kids watch this. But anyway, so, you know, I can't help but laugh at these, and I kind of wanted them for the goof of it too, because I don't take these movies as serious as I do. Although I did like Forever better than Batman and Robin, excuse me. I loved Batman and Batman Returns as far as the Keaton versions. And I did like this as a substitute, even though we all knew why they made this. We all know that the Burton one got in trouble with McDonald's and being too dark, so they had to lighten it up. So I get why they did this, but at the same time, I felt like they should have went all out and completely rebooted it, instead of kind of sprinkling in breadcrumbs that this is still sort of a continuation or a sequel, but yet everything looks very light and neon and different. You know, I mean, they had the same Alfred, they had the same Commissioner Gordon, but yet he's a different Bruce Wayne looks-wise, and then you have this guy that wasn't in the first two, and the music and soundtrack was completely mixed up and changed, and it had a completely different Batmobile, different looking Wayne Manor, everything, you know, so it was like, it was a reboot and a sequel at the same time. It was very confusing and weird. So I do respect the movie for what it was in its own right, but I felt like it took Batman back a step. You know, they graduated from the silliness of the 60s and the 70 comics, kind of finally made it serious and a little darker, and adults loved it. And then this one, I felt like they went backwards, you know, because they got scared because of the darkness or the cruelty that the Batman Returns was accused of. They got scared and went back to the lighter side of things and kind of made it a little more goofy again. So I'm glad that this didn't really last beyond one more sequel, and they went with Christian Bale and, you know, Christopher Nolan's versions that really kind of snapped it back and kind of brought it to this, you know, which is what started the whole this. But anyway, that's pretty much it for me. That concludes my Batman Mania figure review. You know, you got to see the Hot Toys Batman and Robin version. You got to see the ridiculously out of scale SpinMaster Batwing version. You got to see the 1/6 Tumbler 2.0, which I think is great. You got to see the customized Batwing in action and the light up effects. And of course, the new DX19 reworked Dark Knight / Dark Knight Rises Batman, which is not here to pose with the group at this moment. But you get the point. Also, if you want my opinion on the new in-art Heath Ledger Joker from Batman, speaking of this Batman, or one of my custom ones that I have that I compared it with, check out my other video I did a couple weeks ago for my in-art Queen Studios 1/6 Deluxe Joker review. And you'll see the villain side of the Dark Knight there, where I compare and show both variants that come with the deluxe set, the diorama that comes with it, and of course, the custom Joker I have that was on a black box Joker body that I used to kind of compare sculpts. And if that Joker saw these two, I think he wouldn't ask why so serious. I think he would just start laughing and walk away and not bother. Sorry, I don't mean to rag on these guys. These guys are very cool. Honestly, my last word on this is you got to have these. If you're a Batman fan, or if you did like Batman Forever or Batman and Robin, you got to have these. And especially since I have the Riddler and like I said, the Two-Face from that movie, and I'm getting the Batman Forever Batmobile that I think is going to be awesome. These are must-haves, especially if you're, you know, a fan of all the different versions and you want to be a completionist. So I'm not ragging on them. I do think they're a must-have if you're a Batman fan and a Batman fanatic, you know, to kind of collect all things Batman. But, you know, as far as scoring it, as far as individual figures, they get a lower score to me because, you know, the outfit is a little weird. You got to watch for wear and tear. And there's limited articulation, more so with him because of the lack of head movement than him. But even in a museum stiff pose, they're cool. The capes are nice. They drape nice, very realistic. It looks like there's some articulation with the cape. I don't think there's a wire in this cape, but it kind of has like that flowing look to it. I think you can kind of futz with it a bit and change the positioning of it. Same thing with this one. The stands are beautiful. The logo, I mean, that alone is great. And you know, I'll show you really quick. If I zip back over here with the boxes, you'll see this is Robin's clamshell tray, and here's Batman. And you know, Batman comes with a plethora of stuff. Even though, like I said, he's got limited articulation posing with these things, but it does come with a bunch of stuff here. It comes with these, you know, all these batarang weapons and you know, various weapons you could put on his arms and stuff. It comes with tons of other hands, holding grip hands and stuff. You know, and like I said, the stand, the crotch grabber back there. They might have an extra large, what you call crotch grabber for Robin in this one due to his situation. There I go on that again. But you know, all seriousness, Robin comes with far less than Batman. I mean, Batman comes with all these extra pieces here. You know, these extra hands, the weapons, and so on. Where Robin just kind of comes with like 2 extra sets of hands and what you see there. And that's pretty much it. So, you know, there's the box work, the box artwork for it, or it's really looks like more like a photo of the figure for both of them. So it's a standard, you know, standard release. It's not DX or anything like that. And then on the edge of the box, there's the instruction manuals that it comes with. That always, it's, you know, I don't know. I'm gonna read it just for the heck of it, but I'd have to imagine this is a one-page thing. I mean, basically, it's like, you know, take out a box, put on stand, and you're done. Because there's not, like I said, there's not a lot of articulation things you could do there. So, not really sure, but in any case, it is cool. It is nostalgic, you know, and it's part of the Batman history. So I definitely say, I still say it's a must-have, even though my scores are low. But what do you guys think of these figures? You know, subscribe to my channel, comment below, tell me what you think of these two figures. Am I on the mark, or am I missing something, or, you know, what do you think? You know, I think it's, if you're a Batman fan and you're a movie fan of these movies, I think it's a must-have. Otherwise, if you're looking at it from practicality standpoint and articulation issues, then it might be a pass, you know, but tell me what you guys think. Anyway, guys, this is the end of my massive Batman Mania review. Till next time, JoeBiz34, peace out.